Everything shared here is for educational purposes and personal reflection only, not medical advice. Always work with your own healthcare provider for individual care. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Inner Script. I have a very special episode today. It's one I've been wanting to share and really dive pretty deep into because it's deeply personal and it's deeply connected to the way I really view my health today. I guess this whole podcast has been deeply personal, but this particular thing that I've been dealing with since childhood has really shaped the way I practice medicine. It's shaped the way I view health and wellness. It was kind of this symptom in particular that really I struggled with. I mean, I still do, but on a lesser level, but I struggled with it for decades. Hey friend, before we get started, could you please take a quick second to follow or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app? It's the easiest way to support the show and know when new episodes become available. So we're going to talk about digestion, and it's one of my favorite topics in general, just because I've done so much research on it because of my own struggles, and it's something I talk about every day with my patients. I don't know a single person who hasn't had some type of digestive issue at some point in their lives. We're going to dive deep into this, but digestion, it's not just a physical symptom. And it took me a really long time to totally grasp that concept. And what we're really going to talk about today is what happens when grief, stress, and unprocessed emotions take up residence in the gut, and sometimes for decades in my case. So, as I've mentioned, I've struggled with digestion for most of my life, literally since childhood, right around when I was 8 or 9. And I want to say, things are not perfect now, but they are light years better than what they used to be. And I know I'm not alone in this just because what I've seen in my patients on a day-to-day basis. But, again, as I said, I don't think I've met a single person who hasn't dealt with some digestive issue at some point. And let me tell you, I've been through all of it. We're talking about bloating, reflux, constipation, chronic cramping, IBS. I've dealt with, you name it, I've been there. What I've learned both personally and through my work as a provider is this. Digestive symptoms are often the body's emotional language. They're not random, they're messages. And I think this is really hard for people to completely grasp, but most of us, I will say, have heard that the microbiome in the gut is the second brain. So this makes sense that if you can't digest your emotions, or if you don't digest your emotions, you can't digest your food. So knowing all of this gut-brain axis, it's really crucial to fully believe this when dealing with a digestive symptom. So yes, digestion is absolutely influenced by diet, supplements, hydration, protocols, 1,000%. But the nervous system, the emotions, the stress, that is where the real story often lives. So let's get into mine. So my digestion issues started when I was around 8 or 9, and that was around the time when my dad passed away. That timing is not a coincidence. Around that time, I also developed intrusive thoughts about something happening to my mom after losing my dad. Looking back, I definitely had these OCD tendencies as a way to calm my anxiety because, grief, anxiety, stress, that's really hard for an 8 or 9-year-old to really deal with. You don't have the capacity to do that. So I just remember feeling constantly anxious about everything. And this came out in outbursts and panic. Now, as an adult, I can clearly see that this is where I carry my stress. And that's what was going on when I was younger. But, there's no way to even know that. So in my gut microbiome, this is where my unprocessed emotions live. Just having that awareness alone has really changed the way I see my symptoms. And it's also changed the way, honestly, how efficient my body has been in terms of healing. So it's something I really can't explain. It's just this sensation of knowing like, okay, yep, okay, there's something that I need to address here. Instead of feeling frustrated or confused, I see my digestion as communication. So it's really my body trying to tell me something. And that shift alone has just been so instrumental in dealing with this. So back then, when I was younger, like as a child, 8 or 9, my digestion issues started as nausea and intense stomach cramping. So I would get stomach bugs very often. And I want to say it was like, I remember like at least once or twice a year until like my mid 20s. And there were multiple times I would have to go to the ER, the emergency room, because I physically couldn't keep anything down. And I was just getting like so dehydrated. And really the only solution in that moment was for me to get IV fluids and Zofran, which is an anti-nausea medication. So I could keep things down. That was very prevalent. I've just remembered complaining about my stomach all of the time. Yeah, it was a lot. And then in middle school, everything really worsened. So I was having all of that, but then on top of it, I was getting more stress. So that meant more stomach issues. I don't know anyone who like fully enjoyed middle school. It's like one of the most awkward, confusing times. Yeah. So the more stress, more stomach issues. And what that looked like was it really looked as pain, and it would be so bad that my mom would have to pick me up from school at times because I just like couldn't get through the day. And it was just so uncomfortable. So she would pick me up from school. Then eventually this led into chronic bloating, which was basically my constant companion until like from 14 all the way into adulthood. And really, no matter what I ate, I was uncomfortable, and it would get worse as the day went on. I guess I got used to it. I just kind of thought, I'm like, okay, like this is the way it is. I just have a sensitive stomach. And that's what, I would tell myself. In college, it turned into slower digestion too, which, look, that honestly made sense. There were lifestyle factors. I was not living my healthiest life whatsoever. So that definitely contributed to my digestion issues worsening in college. So, that looked like inconsistent meals, poor sleep, lots of alcohol, barely any movement. I was not exercising regularly at all. And my diet sucked, just to be totally transparent. So obviously that all contributed to it, but I had this like underlying issue to begin with. So worsened in college. I also developed acid reflux at one point in college. And that was when I was going through a really, really high period of stress, and it eventually went away. But I had to go on like a medication, a proton pump inhibitor, which is really common. It basically neutralizes your stomach acid, so you're not feeling it anymore. But eventually that went away, so I didn't have to deal with that as much anymore. Yeah, eventually when I got out of that stressful situation, it went away. So after college, I continued to deal with this chronic bloating, slower digestion. It was really frustrating, really annoying. So no matter what I ate, I felt sick and uncomfortable. I also noticed that every time I was at work, and at this point, I was a registered nurse at the bedside working 12-hour shifts, and it was very stressful, like no decompression time. You would go like 12 hours without sitting down sometimes. So when I was at work, it really got really, really bad. And when I got home, I literally looked like I was pregnant. Like I couldn't even like suck in. It was terrible. I knew it was the stress. I did. It just, I like couldn't fully accept it. I say something like knowing something is different than actually believing it. Yeah, like I knew it was the stress, but I was like, well, I can't really do anything about this. So I guess I'll just, deal with it. And yeah, there were many times I couldn't even put certain pants on because it was that bad. The bloating would get so bad. So when I say this has been a decades long journey, I truly mean decades. So kind of going into what I did to try to sort this out and fix it, essentially, after college, I really got serious about cleaning up my diet. And I also just wanted to get healthier. Those 4 years, I was just not living a unhealthy lifestyle at all. Like it's black and white, like my lifestyle now compared to what it was in college. And I think everyone can relate to that. Your late nights, tons of alcohol, not cooking for yourself at all, just eating whatever, being hungover, hangover meals, like all of the things. So like after college, I was like, okay, I need to get my shit together. Like this is not happening anymore. So after that, I really leaned into a healthier lifestyle. So I started cooking more, really made an effort to eat more fruits, vegetables, and it definitely helped. I became more regular, but the bloating stayed. And no matter what I ate, it just didn't matter. It was always there. And because of this, because I was so afraid of feeling sick and getting bloated and cramping, I became really restrictive in my diet. And again, this wasn't out of like fear of like weight or anything. It was out of fear of feeling really sick. It was fear of eating the wrong thing and fear of triggering my symptoms. And during all of this, and I would say from like after college, so like ages like 22 to even like 30, I would say, like I tried various diets. I'm going to say even up to like 32, like 31 or 32. I tried various diets. I tried like vegetarian, just like eating less meat, tried vegan diets, gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, light to heavy food sequencing in the morning, like you eat lighter and then a little bit heavier as the day goes on, lower fat. So tried all of that. And I even tried some medical medium practices, which, is like celery juice, detox smoothies, which honestly, it did help with regularity and energy. So there are like points of this where I know medical medium gets like a huge contradictions out there or shame with medical medium, but I get his protocols can be very restrictive. I completely agree with that, but there's kind of like some aspects of it that can be helpful. So whatever. But again, so I did celery juice religiously for 6 years. 6. And I will say like it helped. It definitely helped my symptoms, but I think I was probably just like, I honestly think I was drinking too much of it because I was just so desperate. I still drink celery juice from time to time, but it's not like a daily thing anymore. Like I like to do it if, after traveling or if I'm just kind of feeling like blah, like I still do it. It has a lot of great health benefits. It helps stimulate hydrochloric acid so that you can break down your food better. It helps stimulate bile to help emulsify fats and digest fat and protein better. So there's a lot of great benefits to it. I don't drink like half as much as I used to. Like I have probably like anywhere from like 6 to 8 ounces of celery juice when I do drink it. When I was back in the day, I was going like 16, 24 ounces like on a daily basis. But yeah, and while all of that gave me benefits, the full diet was just way too restrictive and it created a lot of food anxiety for me. So which of course only worsened my digestion. So really restriction is stress and stress lives in the gut. So you can see where this goes. Eventually, over the last year, I really started to let go of this fear-based eating and shifted into a more balanced, intuitive way of nourishing myself. That shift alone improved my digestion more than any elimination diet, supplement, food, whatever. Like that is what helped. And again, I'm not saying like, look, I still eat very well. I eat whole foods like 80 to 90% of the time because that's honestly like what I enjoy doing. It's not coming from a place of restriction anymore. It's coming because I actually want to be eating that way and it feels good. So yeah, I'm not saying like I go balls to the walls with like whole foods or with processed foods, every day. I still don't recommend anybody to do that. But it's really just kind of shifting this mindset of fear-based nutrition and dieting and all of that. Here are some other things I have tried besides certain diets. Some worked, some didn't. Yeah, so I did the probiotic thing. I tried that, which it really only made me bloated. Like I didn't notice a whole difference with it. I think probiotics can be really helpful in some people. It just depends on the person. But I do think, there's a lot of food that have natural pre and probiotics that, sometimes can just be enough for people. Again, probiotics can work. I think it's a little bit more individualized of who can benefit from it. I tried L-glutamine powder, which is basically, it's an amino acid that helps to reinforce your intestinal lining. So it's really, really helpful for bloating, like looser bowel movements, so like kind of more like diarrhea. It helps like 95% of my patients that have recommended it to. That's like a rough estimate, but it really didn't help me. So again, L-glutamine powder, it can be like a miracle thing for some people, but for me, it didn't work because that wasn't the issue with my digestion. I also saw various functional medicine providers. One of them did a stool test, which actually overall showed a lot of healthy, good gut bacteria. I didn't have any significant abnormalities. Like my microbiome test looked really good. And that's when I was eating really healthy, obviously, at that time. But yeah, so they were like, yeah, this actually looks really good. Yeah, nothing to really do here. But then on one of the stool tests, apparently it detected blood. So then I was referred to a GI. I had to get a colonoscopy, which ended up being completely fine. But it was one of those things where there's a balance when it comes to all of this testing. And this is coming from somebody who has worked in a functional medicine practice, I've ordered these tests before but it's also like if you keep doing this testing, you're going to find something. So in my case, yes, like I did this microbiome test. I found out there was blood in my stool. So then I had to go get a colonoscopy, which was not fun, but I did all the things. So go figure. And look, I'm not saying not to do these like extensive tests. It's one of those things where, yeah, sometimes there's just like a balance to it. And I still think it's really helpful to get microbiome testing done. It's just in my case, it led to this whole can of worms getting opened. So that's my point in that. I've done a parasite cleanse without any success. I've taken natural antibiotics such as oil of oregano, golden seal, didn't work. And I'm sure there are so many other things that I've done over the years that just no success. But here's the thing. The truth is, the biggest improvements came when I stopped trying everything and instead focused on supporting my foundations, the 6 pillars. So this is what actually helped for my diet and overall routine. I really started focusing on fiber. Papaya also became my secret weapon. It's truly a miracle food for sluggish digestion. Kiwi, pineapple, melon are great too, but papaya is next level. So if I'm ever kind of feeling like a little sluggish, I get some papaya in and I'm good to go. And I drink anywhere from like 16 to 32 ounces of lemon water every morning. And I know that sounds like a lot, but I use a full lemon with liquid minerals. I'm not kidding. My body wakes up craving that. And that has transformed my digestion hugely. The citrus in the lemon naturally stimulates your digestive enzymes and bile flow. So again, I'll do like half of a squeezed lemon in 16 ounces or one full lemon in 32 ounces. I'll do the 32 ounces if I'm like working out in the morning. Usually we'll do 16 if I'm just not. Yeah, like hydration is key first thing in the morning. I stopped drinking coffee on an empty stomach, and I'm really embarrassed to say how long I did this for. I used to drink like a venti iced coffee from Starbucks on an empty stomach. I did that for like years, maybe like 2 years. And I'm like really embarrassed I did that. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. And even up until like about a year ago, I was doing that. I was drinking coffee on an empty stomach. It's like one of the worst things you can do. You're spiking your cortisol. Coffee is so acidic. It's just not good. So just please eat something if you're going to drink coffee in the morning. And I also dialed back my coffee. I drink like 100 milligrams of coffee per day, maybe 200 if I'm a little tired. So yeah, it's just coffee, empty stomach is a no-go. I learned I really needed to eat fruit in the morning. And whether that's like a smoothie, like a chia pudding, coconut yogurt bowls, I'm not great with dairy, I will say, oatmeal or eggs, I have to have some type of fruit in the morning. Fruit gives me fiber, hydration, antioxidants, and it's just a gentle start. I just notice my digestion is so much better when I have fruit first thing in the morning. And I also really slowed down in the mornings. I used to, get my coffee, make a smoothie, or make a breakfast and bring it on the go with me to work because I was just like trying to get to work. And instead, I like started kind of waking up a little bit earlier, like maybe like 10 to 15 minutes, just to make sure I had time to like sit down and eat breakfast, drink my coffee, and then maybe bring it with me to work. So that created a huge shift, just slowing down, not eating on the go. Yeah, that was a real game changer. I shifted to eating my heavier meals. When I say heavier, just kind of more calorie dense, I would say, earlier in the day, but I really kept it lower in fat. And I'll tell you why. I know this is sounding like I'm being restrictive, but a lot of this comes to kind of tapping into your body and knowing what works for you. I found that oils and nut butters, like for breakfast or first thing in the morning, definitely affect my digestion, kind of no matter what. It just felt like a lot for me. So I would say these for later in the day. And my schedule at work is so busy. I don't have time to snack between patients. Like, I truthfully don't. Sometimes I do, but I can't lean on that during the day because there are times I'm running behind. Like, I literally don't have 5 minutes to like eat something. I truthfully don't. What I did instead was eating a really substantial breakfast and lunch, which kept me steady. It prevents the hangries for me, which I am extremely sensitive to, and just overall keeps digestion so much more calm and later in the evening because I get home from work and I'm not like ravenous, I'm not starving. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I just need like a normal dinner. And now dinner might be like my quote unquote lightest meal of the day because I feel very satiated and nourished throughout the day. And again, if I'm feeling really hungry in between, and I have the time to go eat something else, I will do it. And that's helpful as well. Also, this whole approach for me, it's really prevented me with any late night bloating, which then improves my sleep because I'm not feeling the discomfort. So all of that has been huge. And then obviously hydration. I drink tons of water. So I have like that 32 ounces of water in the morning usually. And then I drink 2 Stanleys throughout the day. And then I really try to end my night with some type of herbal tea. I've been feeling dandelion tea right now. It's really good for estrogen detox. So if you're dealing with like estrogen dominance or just honestly, any kind of like hormonal imbalance, dandelion tea is really good for that. And if my digestion is feeling a little bit sluggish, I'll take magnesium oxide powder before bed. I don't do citrate. Citrate, it doesn't work for me. It like almost like worsens like cramping. And magnesium oxide is a little bit gentler on my system. So works like a charm. I bring it with me when I'm traveling. Always, without a doubt. That is my travel partner. Another thing was helpful. I took zinc carnosine, I want to say for like 3 to 4 months. That was a pretty big help. It supports the intestinal lining and immune health. So that was something that really helped me. And then lastly, lymphatic drainage massages I absolutely love because they massage your stomach and you feel so much lighter coming out of that appointment. It helps so much with bloating, water retention, and it feels amazing. So those are kind of my go-tos right now. I'm not taking zinc carnosine anymore. I feel like I moved on from that. I feel like it did what it was supposed to do, so I stopped. Yeah, those are kind of my go-tos. I really don't take a lot of supplements. I just kind of keep it to the basics of what I know works for me. And then, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. No supplement changed my digestion more than sleep, emotional release, nervous system regulation. I've said this like 1,000 times already, but my stress lives in my gut and it always has and it always will. And once I began fully embracing that and understanding it, I started to slow the F down, getting out of hustle mode, tapping into my feminine energy, which means leaning back, kind of getting out of your head, really tapping into your feelings, emotions, sensations in your body, practicing emotional release, journaling, which is huge for me in terms of somatic healing and releasing stored emotions. That's been crucial. Meditating before bed. I don't do it daily. I do it pretty inconsistently, but I go through periods where I'm like doing it nightly for like a few weeks and then I go like a week or two without. But meditating before bed, I will never be a morning meditator. I don't think I'm too like just need to get going. Setting boundaries, especially at work, and then saying no. So all of those things healed my digestion in a way that nothing else did. And I will say, I went from having digestive symptoms 100% of the time. I am not kidding. 100% of the time for decades. Then maybe I would say I have symptoms 30 to 40% of the time. And for me, that's a massive win. I am not looking for perfection. I am looking for consistency with just normal digestion. So again, healing doesn't mean perfection. Your symptoms are going to fluctuate. You're going to feel off sometimes, and that's okay. Healing means improvement. It means resilience. It truly means understanding your body instead of fighting it. And that alone, if you take away one thing, is instead of getting frustrated with your body, just know it is only working for you. It is only there for you. And I know that sounds really corny and like stupid, but it's the truth. Your body is never betraying you. It is only trying to protect you. So every symptom you have is a signal. It is simply trying to communicate with you. And I think just having that reframe alone has changed the way I have viewed my relationship with myself and my body. Just if you're going to take away one thing, it's that. Really, I called this episode When Grief Lives in the Gut because for so many of us, it does. Remember the saying that made my stomach drop? I mean, the gut is where we hold fear, anxiety, stress, all of it. And it's where we internalize emotional pain. It's where we brace ourselves. It's where we swallow things we don't say out loud. And that is so true for me. And until we acknowledge this side of it, digestion can always feel like a mystery. Again, a lot of these things I talked about that did help me, kind of the accessories with the pillars and all of that, it really did help. But my true healing came from recognizing all of this, that there is such an emotional aspect to chronic symptoms and especially digestion. And one thing I will say is in Chinese medicine, the heart and the pelvic region are connected. And for women, I don't know a single female, friends, family, patients. I have not met a single female who hasn't had some type of issue in their pelvic region, whether it's chronic UTIs, pelvic pain, uterine fibroids, PCOS, some type of digestion issue, chronic vaginitis, pain with sex. I don't know a single female who hasn't dealt with something like that. And that right there, I truly believe it is because it's so emotionally rooted. That area is so sensitive and reactive to our feelings and emotions that it's just something we really need to pay attention to. When we support the basics and when we process our internal world, the gut finally begins to soften, to release, and to finally heal. So that is pretty much my digestion story. Again, I will say, I'm 33 right now. It took like 2 decades for me to really get a handle on it. I did all of the things. And the thing that moved the needle the most was understanding my emotions, seeing myself differently, embracing all of this information that I received and truly believing it. So that's just one thing I have become so passionate about is this importance of digesting your emotions and understanding how you're feeling, because so many of us are just going day to day, going through the motions and not knowing what we're actually feeling. I mean, that's pretty much what even led me to start this podcast to begin with. So, cannot emphasize how much the work works. That's all I have to say about my digestion story. Keep me updated about what you guys are going through. And let me know. Again, I say this at the end of every episode, but I want to know where you guys are at in your healing journey, what you're dealing with, what you're sorting through. There's really no topic that's off limits. And I know how overwhelming all of this information can be. And I'm here to make it digestible for you. No pun intended. But I'm really here to help kind of translate all of these topics into things that are a little bit easier to understand, because there is a way to understand it. We can break it down, make it more simple. And there's so much health and wellness information out there that is so complicated, and it just really doesn't need to be. So please keep me updated. Send me a DM at the Interscript Pod on Instagram. I would love to hear from you guys. Yeah, just let me know where you're at, what you're dealing with, sorting through. No question is off limits. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that. I'll let you know if some questions are off limits. And I will see you guys next week. If you want to connect with like-minded women and dive deeper into these conversations, join my Patreon community. There's a free option, and it's where we can talk about each episode together. The link is in the show notes, and I can't wait to see you there.